Hey everyone, this is David Pike, the Motorcity Mechanic, back with another video. Now today we've got a Chrysler Sebring in the shop. The shifter is saying one thing and the indicator is saying another for the transmission, and they're not agreeing with each other. I'm going to show you what you need to look for and the cheapest way to repair it. So check it out. Now the most common cause for that issue with the shifter not matching the indicator as far as positions is the actual trans cable bushing. At the end of both ends of that cable, there's going to be a bushing, one at the shifter inside, one on the transmission outside. The most common location for that problem, at the transmission. Now I'm going to show you what we need to do to take that air filter box out so that we can get a closer view of it and see if that's what the problem is, and we can go ahead and proceed with repairing it at the same time. So let's go ahead and get the tools that we need, and we'll go ahead and start getting everything off. So in order to get to that shifter cable and get into that link where we're going to be replacing the bushing, we got a few things we need to take off. Once we get this out of the way, we're going to have good access to it. So we're going to work on getting the air filter box out. There's a top half, bottom half. We're going to take it off as one. Now, it has a snorkel on the front, air inlet basically. It has a Christmas tree fastener. We've got to pop this up right here. We've got a 10mm bolt on this particular vehicle holding the lower box to the radiator support. We've also got a crankcase vent hose, air inlet hose going to the throttle body. That right there, need to back that off. That's going to be either a Phillips screw or you can use an 8mm. And then we've also got the air temp sensor back here that we've got to disconnect as well. And then once we get that up, there's one more remaining thing I'll show you, and then we can actually lift it straight up and get it off to the side. Alright, so we're going to work on getting that Christmas tree fastener off now so that we can get this air inlet right here off the radiator support. We're just going to get up under there. We've got a metal one here that we use. They come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. We'll get up under the bottom edge and try to work on getting it off. Now if it pulls through or breaks, don't worry, you can replace it. It's nothing major. This one actually pulled through. Try to get out the remaining portion off. If it's been on there for a while, it may have a tendency to stick and eventually break. And that's it right there. This one's kind of deteriorated. It's about to pull through the top, so I'm going to definitely replace that. Next item is going to be the 10mm right here that holds that lower box to the radiator support. Back that off all the way, sit it somewhere where I won't lose it. And then I can go ahead and proceed to the air inlet and the crankcase hose. So we got the crankcase hose that goes up to the valve cover there. We're going to go ahead and slide that off. And then we're also going to work on this rubber boot that goes down to the throttle body. We'll back that off. Like I said, you could either use a Phillips screwdriver if you want, or if you've got an 8mm, 8mm will work fine. Back it off a few turns. Now I can actually work it off. Now we got the rubber boot off. Now we'll move over to the air intake temp sensor. Now the temp sensor only has a one-stage lock. All you're going to do is squeeze in on it. Once you squeeze in, you can pick up on it. Some vehicles or some connectors on different things have a two-stage. It'd be a red lock that you might have to slide sideways or lift up. This one's just squeeze and pull. Now we got the last thing we're going to take off, which is directly down below, and it's actually a wiring harness that attaches to the box. So the back corner over here on the lower portion of this air box, there's actually a metal strap that kind of snaps down in place that a harness is attached to. It's a bracket, strap, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to reach down in here. And you can actually probably see it right here. That's it right there. I'm going to actually pick up on it and get it out of its groove there. Now the harness is no longer attached to the air box. Now that we got everything unhooked from the air box, we're just going to pick straight up on it. It's got two rubber bushings over here next to the fuse box that line up with two pegs that are mounted on the frame rail. You might have to wiggle it to get them loose. Once we get them up, then we can actually pull it off and sit it to the side, and we'll have all the room we need. Go. Taking that air inlet off. With it, it will slide off, but I'm going to keep it together. And the two rubber bushings I was telling you about are these here and here. So it doesn't hurt to put some grease on those when you're going back. So when you line them up with the pegs on that frame rail right there, it just slides down into place. These are the two pegs I was telling you about. So double check to make sure that the bushing that come off the box and got stuck on the peg, pull them off, put them back on the air box. And when you're going down, you can see these two easily. So when you're going back down, make sure it's lined up and just slide it and snap it in place. And here's the shifter linkage right here. This is actually the linkage on the transmission. It rotates. as you can see, and here's the actual cable. The cable would normally be snapped on there, but of course the bushing is no longer in there. All we've got is this plastic end with no nylon or rubber type bushing in the end of it, so that was definitely our problem there. It was no longer attached. So currently, the only repair through Mopar for that deteriorated shifter bushing is to replace entire cable assembly. That's about $200 in parts and almost that much in labor, because you've got to take the console apart, get the cable out, and install the new cable through the firewall to the transmission. Try to go to your local parts store, see what they have in the help section that Dorman makes. They do have some there. Unfortunately, they don't work for this transmission. As I'm going to show you, some of the bushing kits come with different plastic lengths. Unfortunately, the way they're designed to attach to the transmission is going to be different, so you're not going to have much luck there. And if you go to Dorman's website and type in the vehicle, nothing's going to pull up. So the other option you have is to go online and do a Google search, which is basically what I did. And then I come across a website called bushingfix.com, and that's what they specialize in. They've got bushings for so many different makes and models. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what their kit's about, and we're going to install that kit, and we're going to save a lot of money, because the kit itself is probably about $20 plus shipping and handling versus $200 in parts and probably $200 in labor. So if you don't mind waiting a few days, because you're not going to pick this up at the local parts store, you're going to be ordering online. If you don't mind waiting a few days for it to get to the house, you're going to save a lot of money. So what we're going to do is work on replacing that bushing. Now I'm going to take this plastic end off and show you off the car. Now you don't have to, you can do it here. But for me, for the sake of showing you up close, I'm going to go ahead and take the end off. Now if you opt to take the end off, keep in mind there is a spring here and a bolt that holds it in place. And this is adjustable. Have no fear taking it loose that you worry about having to adjust it. The adjustment's fairly cut and dry. I'll show you what it is when I go back. But keep in mind, when you take the bolt off, do not lose the spring that's behind it. Bolt, spring, sit it somewhere safe where you won't lose it. And that's what I'm going to do next, and then I'll show you how to install that bushing. Now the bolt that attaches that plastic piece to the cable is actually an 8mm. So just back it off. Like I said, I'm going to take some care not to lose the spring and the bolt. A little tension, not much, but as long as you know what's about to happen, you should be fine. You just know to get some pressure there. Take the plastic piece off now, and then the spring, I can leave it there so I don't lose it, or I can take it off and sit it somewhere with the bolt. Now they have their own set of videos and instructions if you want to log on to the website bushingfix.com that it goes specifically on how to do things. I'm just going to show you myself. Feel free to check out their video too, just in case there's some more information maybe I didn't include. But on the back of the instructions, the way it's important is we want to look at the transmission linkage. The way we're going to be installing the actual bushing into the holder is we're going to go through the top, pull it out the bottom. The bottom is the piece where the transmission linkage goes onto, and that's basically what the directions are showing right here, that we're going to pull it through the plastic piece towards where the shifter linkage would be. So we're going to grab the actual bushing. Now the bushing, the side that we're going to be working on has the cuts in it, and the cuts are what we're going to slide inside the little tool that we use to install it with. So we need to get all edges inside the red plastic piece. Take your time, slide it down in there. Get it as fully seated as you can. Now the bushing's ready to be installed. Now we're going to grab our plastic piece. Remember that the bolt went through the top. That's where it's got that little slotted track. What we're going to be doing is pulling it through. Now we'll pull the red piece while we're pushing on the bushing, and there we go. The fingers are now locked in place. I can grab the bushing and it will not come out. I can push one way or the other. Now it's fully seated. I can tell it's rotating freely. I look at it, I don't see any damaged little cutouts here or fingers from when I used the tool. So now we can go back to the vehicle and just go ahead and install the cable with the spring and the nut. We're not going to tighten down the nut just yet. I'll show you why, because we're going to do an adjustment, and we can also get ready to pop that on. Now it wouldn't hurt to put a little bit of grease in there so when we put the transmission linkage through, it'll snap in place properly. So go ahead and grab that spring we took off, an 8mm bolt, and the plastic end with the new bushing in it. Now if you didn't take the plastic piece off, at this point you're just going to be snapping it back down. Like I said, you don't have to take it off like I did. I took it off so I could show you a little bit better, so that's why we're going to be putting it back on in this manner, and then I'll show you how to actually adjust it. Main thing we need to do is to slide the spring back on. Get the spring on, grab the plastic piece. There's a cutout here that actually the arm of the cable is going to sit in, and then we'll put the 8mm bolt back on. You may have to push back on the spring at the same time as trying to get the 8mm bolt started. Get it down as far as you can. You don't have to do a final tighten right now. We're going to do that final adjustment once we snap the cable on. So I'll snug it down a little bit more to where it's still got play and it still moves independent from the cable. What we're going to do is we're going to push in enough to where we can line up the bushing with the peg. We'll just gently push down, make sure it's fully seated. Now we can go back and tighten up on that 8mm. Now this is basically what we're doing, is that the cable and the shifter inside the vehicle's in part, transmission's in part. Now we're mating them together and tightening up that 8mm for the final step. They'll all be basically synced together at that point. Go ahead and tighten it up. That's it. Alright, now with everything put together, we're just going to go through and make sure everything moves properly. We're going to keep going back and forth a few times to make sure that that cable stays in place on top of that shifter linkage. And go out there and double check it one more time by physically pulling up and down. And going back with everything is just the opposite of removal. Just take your time, make sure you put all the crankcase hose, the inlet tube going from the throttle body up to the airbox. Don't forget that little wiring harness bracket, slide it back in place, that way the harness doesn't rub against something it's not supposed to. And don't forget to plug in that intake air temp sensor. Otherwise, there's nothing you need to be worried about. We went through the adjustment procedure on that cable. And remember, you don't have to take the end off the cable. You can do it there in the engine compartment, but if you opt to take it out so you can see it better, now you know what you need to do to adjust that cable to get it back to where the shifter's in part as well as the transmission. So at this point, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Don't forget you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. If you got any comments or suggestions about the shifter cable repair we did on the Sebring, or anything Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram related, always feel free to email me at david@motorcitymechanic.com and I will get back to you in a timely manner. Once again, everybody, thanks for watching all these videos.